MG has been the go-to brand for EV value for a few years now, and that's helped it sell over 100,000 EVs in the UK so far. But the company has been edging up the market gradually with each new model that it releases, and this new car, the MGS6 EV, is the latest in that trend. It's another step up in quality and price, but can the MGS6 EV maintain MG's dominance in the EV market? Before we find out though, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So the MGS6 EV follows MG's current design motifs. You've got this kind of grille-less front, which is similar to a little bit of Cyberster, a little bit of MG4, a little bit of MGS5 EV. Got this split front here, which I think is quite styling, fairly aggressive, but not too aggressive. This is still a family car after all. If we head round the side, you can see that on the bottom here, if you'd like to follow me, cameraman, there's this sill, which has become another design motif of MG. This black privacy glass, or glass even, is standard on all cars. It's not a particular trim. All of them have it. On the top here, you can't quite see it, is the sunroof. That's with the trophy trim. We'll get to the trims in a second. Round the back, we have a light bar. It goes all the way across. And there's this integrated spoiler with a brake light in the top here. Now this car is quite slippy. It has a drag coefficient of 0.27 CD, so fairly aerodynamic. Speaking of those trims, there are just two, as regularly we find with MG cars. There's an SE and a Trophy, and just two drivetrains. And actually those combination means that you can only have three different cars. You can have the SE with just a rear-wheel drive car, that has 244 PS, or you can have the rear-wheel drive 244 PS motor with the Trophy trim, or you can have an all-wheel drive with 361 PS with that Trophy trim. All cars have a 77 kilowatt-hour battery, which is reasonably big by MG standards. The choices are pretty simple. You have 7 colours to choose from. This is obviously black, and a brand new one is a gold colour. And pretty much everything else comes with the trim you choose, so that's just the SE and Trophy trim. Keyless entry, and that simplicity of choices carries on in the interior. This is a Trophy trim. You get two choices with a kind of faux leather and suede effect. You can have beige or grey. This is obviously the beige. There's also a black cloth for the SE. There's a very nice raised central console. This is a single smartphone charger, but it is ventilated, which means your phone won't get overheated. Nice little central console with a couple of cup holders. It's got these kind of clips so that you can put larger or smaller items, cups in there. Quite a sizable cubby here underneath the armrest. Controls that we'll get to in a second. A standard steering wheel. A really nicely appointed place to be. These seats are very comfortable. I've been driving this car for a couple of hours, and it's very comfortable to drive. Reasonably sized glove compartment here. Enough for some documentation. You could probably put gloves for the entire family in that one. So a lot of our viewers like to see what it's like to actually get in the back of these cars. So you can see, no problem for me. I'm not the best person at getting in and out of cars, getting on a bit, and really comfortable. Plenty of knee room, loads of headroom. This is the panoramic sunroof with the blind down, and really comfortable seats. The middle one is obviously not quite as large as the others. So if I move across here, you can see this will probably be a teenager could sit here quite comfortably on a longer journey. But if you don't have that third passenger in the back, you've got this armrest you can pull down with a couple of cup holders. It all feels, the upholstery feels nice and soft and comfortable. So no direct controls for the rear seat passengers for the air conditioning, but they do get their own vents and a couple of USB-C ports as well for them to plug their devices into. And there are seat back pockets for your kids to put their copies of The Rise and Fall of British Leyland, or whatever it is kids read these days. If you need to put child car seats in, you've got these ISOFIX points here on both of the two outer rear seats, but there isn't one in the front seat. So this car doesn't appear to have a kick boot release, but it is at least electrically operated. Nice smooth action, and this boot is really quite massive. Really nice blind there. This is 674 litres, and underneath here there's a little bit of space, which appears to have a battery in it, which is kind of interesting. And if we remove this, and these rear seats go down in the typical 60 and then 40 combination. This is quite a nice and easy motion. It's also quite nice to see that the seat belts actually have these kind of lips here that hold them in place, so they won't get foul of the seats. This is a really big boot. In fact, it's pretty whopping. 1,910 litres of space now. That is huge. Plenty of room for that trip to IKEA. You could probably even fit a small wardrobe in here if you wanted to. So this is also one of the first MGs to have a frunk. It's not the biggest of frunks because this is a dual motor version of the car, so it has 102 litres, but still enough for a small overnight bag or indeed the charging cables. The single motor car, which has the motor in the back, has 124 litres, which is a bit more sizable. You could really put a bit of shopping in the front of that version of this car. So that's a huge cargo carrying capacity, and you can even add on to that with a towing capacity of 750 kilograms unbraked or 1,500 kilograms braked. So that's enough for a boat or a very small caravan or a trailer of some kind. So as I said, this car has a 77 kilowatt hour battery, which is actually the gross size of it. It's about 74 kilowatt hours net. That gives it 301 miles of range in this dual motor version, or the single motor rear-wheel drive version goes up to 329 miles. Now, charging speeds are not absolutely stellar. The DC charging speed is 144 kilowatts. It's okay. It means you can go from 10 to 80% in about 38 minutes. So that's perfectly adequate for a longer journey. Now, when I was driving about with this car, I was only getting about 2 miles per kilowatt hour, but that was with the air conditioning on. It's about 2 degrees C here while I'm driving around, and I must admit, driving it quite spiritedly on A roads. I suspect you could get closer to 3 if you're driving in a little bit more economical fashion. So this car definitely has the ability to do longer ranges. Maybe not top of the class, but certainly perfectly adequate and more range than the average MG that we've tested before. So this cockpit is pretty standard, pretty conventional, pretty standard steering wheel, instrument panel, LCD panel for infotainment, controls, a few switches. This also has a HUD. We'll talk about that in a second. So let's talk about the steering wheel. Very standard layout on the steering wheel. You've got most of these functions over on this side are for the ADAS controls. There is a favorite button on this side, and there's one on the other side. By default, the one on the left does regeneration, the one on the right does drive modes, kind of what you'd expect, but you can configure those. You've got some media controls on the right here. You've got typical stalks, you've got left is lights, and the right hand one is wipers. Obviously the left hand one does indicators as well. You've got the traditional rotating wheel for selecting drive modes, typical of an MG. So to put left for drive, neutral in the middle, and right for reverse, and a park one in the middle. There is an electronic parking brake, but you can kind of leave that alone because it's going to be doing that automatically. It has auto hold. You do have a bunch of discrete buttons. You've got the audio control here. You've got some temperature control for both sides of the air conditioning, fan speed here on the left as well, and demist and hazards. So that's probably a good level. You don't need to go into the interface to control the air conditioning in this car. Nice clear 10.25 inch digital instrument cluster. You can see no more analog dials here in this version. You probably might remember those from the MGS6 EV. That's all gone. Bit of ADAS in the middle, trip computer, speed, range, pretty nicely laid out. As this is a trophy version, there's a HUD. You can't see that, I suspect, because it's designed for only the driver to be able to see it. It's a pretty good HUD, speed limit, and a bit of ADAS on that as well. So that's all very nicely designed, and again, a little step up for MG. So this is another area that is improved incrementally with each new MG. This is a 12.8 inch infotainment screen. You can see it's got enough space for having 4 panels, and if you scroll across you get even more. You've got some apps over here. You've got Spotify, YouTube, TikTok and Amazon all directly built in. Of course, if you want to, you've got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so you can use your phone as well. You've got the climate controls. If you click on that, you can see there's more capabilities there. If we go back to home screen, get a weather forecast. It's looking, it's warmed up a bit now, but you can see how cold it was while I was driving around. 4 degrees C. And you've got radio, obviously DAB, navigation, quite a decent navigation, full screen, nice and colourful, but not too busy. Go through here, video capabilities, playback capabilities, connect your phone, battery level, go into the full settings here. Again, quite nicely laid out. System activation. If we press on that, here we have all of the different ways of setting up the car. You can have ambient lighting, different colours, how you lay out the instrument cluster with different presets for that, and you can do all kinds of configuration for that. MG Pilot, which is the lots of stuff. That's the ADAS and adaptive cruise control system. Convenience. You can see that this car has a HUD, so that's configuration for that. And the 5 different drive modes: normal, sport, comfort, snow, and custom, and 4 different regeneration, auto hold. Lots of depends how you want to auto hold to function. Hill descent control is available. Lots of cool settings, and you can see it's a very responsive screen. So actually, a pretty cool system. And if I press that, you can see it's got a nice 360-degree parking camera. So infotainment's really gone up a big notch in the last few years with MG. Apart from the MG Cyberster and the MG4 X-Power, MGs aren't really driver's cars. They're more about value and practicality. This car is really quite pleasant to drive. I've mostly been driving the rear-wheel drive trophy version, which supposedly takes you to 62 miles per hour in close to 8 seconds, but it feels a lot faster than that. I was able to overtake traffic quite easily. If you're on a motorway, you're doing about 60 miles an hour. It's not quite as full of beans. That is a pretty typical thing for an EV, to feel a lot faster than it actually is because of that instant torque. And certainly if you're doing like 30-40 miles an hour on an A road and you see a nice clear stretch of road, you need to overtake somebody who's driving a bit slowly for the 60 mile an hour speed limit. Got plenty of road for that. Pretty impressive. This is the dual motor car, and it gets 0 to 62 in 5.1 seconds thanks to that 361 PS. It's not the kind of torque and performance that makes you ill, but it's certainly quick. This dual motor car is pretty sprightly, but in either case, the driving is more comfortable than sporty. This is quite a big car, but it's not so big that this kind of country road we're on right now feels absolutely terrifying. You can see you can get past other cars. When I was driving earlier, I hit a point where on a road like this, a little bit wider, there was actually a military truck just stopped on the side of the road. And if I'd been in a bigger car, it would have been really quite difficult to get past it. This car is just about the right size. I've been through a few villages and towns, and it's still okay, not absolutely huge. Considering how much rear space you've got and how much boot space you've got, it's actually quite impressive. So not really a car to fool about with, but certainly comfortable. It's a family car, and I have to say the suspension and ride quality is quite impressive actually. Nothing trick like air suspension here. You can see here I'm having to get past somebody on a narrow lane, and it's not terrible. The steering is light enough for urban use. Overall then, perfectly comfortable car for driving your family about in. I'll go into more detail about the safety capabilities of this car in the written review, but one thing that's worth pointing out is that this car has already got a 5-star NCAP rating. That is a lot to do with the safety tech that it's got, which is quite a lot. But you know, you can, again, because it's a family car, you really want it to be safe, and it's quite satisfying that it's already got that. In the past, one of the most important things we've talked about with MG cars is of course the price, and this car is quite a lot more expensive than previous MGs, apart from of course the Halo car, the Cyberster. Even for the SE rear-wheel drive car, it's £38,000 or fibre underneath that. Then if you actually want the trophy trim on top of that, it's £3,000 more for a fibre under £41,000. If you go for the dual motor trophy, it's a fibre under £44,000. That makes this car, puts it in territory of the basic models of the Tesla Model Y, which are bigger cars with better performance in general. If you compare that to most of the other vehicles on the market, like for example Skoda Enyaq or the Volkswagen ID4 or even the BYD C-Line 7,
it's actually very reasonably priced considering the quality of what you've got here. Although some competitors do a little bit better on range still, and performance a little bit better as well, in terms of the overall package, this is a solid choice. So the MGS6 EV does take this brand in a different direction, but it's not a bad direction.
So this is one of the more expensive MGs on the market, but for the range, performance, utility and quality, it's a big step up, and that makes it still very, very good value. As a do-it-all, all-round family car, it's well worth considering. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to our YouTube channel.